Hey everyone, and welcome back. I am absolutely thrilled to get into today's explainer with you. We're going to tackle something extraordinary today. We're going to bridge the gap between that profound quantum core at the center of your being and the everyday, mundane, physical world we all wake up in every single morning. We are going to look at the exact mechanics of how your universe is actually built. To set the stage, let's just quickly recap where we left off. We previously unpacked the concept of your core identity as a sort of computational seed. You can really think of it like a cosmic SIM card. Meanwhile, your biological nervous system, your physical brain, acts as a highly sophisticated bioantenna that filters the signals of the universe. Now, here is the absolutely crucial part. Neither the brain nor the singularity is the engine on its own. It's the active, continuous interaction between the two that sparks the process we are going to explore today. But this setup leaves us with a massive, glaring mystery. What exactly is that subatomic core doing to build the world around you?
To answer that, we really have to confront a deeply strange contradiction. In fact, I want you to do something physical for a second. Reach out and tap the screen of your device right now. Seriously, go ahead, just tap it. Feel the edge of the case? It feels incredibly solid, right? It feels totally fixed, permanent, undeniable. But modern quantum physics tells us that at the fundamental level, reality isn't solid at all. It is a fluid, swirling cloud of probabilities. So why does life feel like a single, fixed, solid movie when the underlying physics proves it is anything but?
To figure out how we get from a fluid quantum cloud to that solid device sitting in your hand, we have to look at where traditional science hits a massive wall. For centuries, standard Newtonian physics worked flawlessly. I mean, it's great for predicting the orbits of planets or the trajectory of a baseball. But when physicists started peering into the subatomic world, they slammed right into a brick wall. It's known in physics as the measurement problem. The standard equations simply could not explain the exact physical mechanism where a mathematical wave of infinite possibilities suddenly, almost magically, transforms into a single concrete physical object. Think about that for a second. Subatomic particles literally do not exist in a definite location until an observation occurs.
This idea caused an immense amount of historical friction in physics. The concept that simply observing a fluid cloud could force it into solid matter was so bizarre that Albert Einstein, a guy who literally bent our understanding of space and time, actively fought against its implications. He famously and pretty stubbornly dismissed non-local quantum behavior as spooky action at a distance. Imagine standing in a lab looking at raw particle data. Before you measure them, particles exist in a state of pure potential. They are essentially occupying multiple positions at once. How on earth does the simple act of a human looking force that potential to lock down into reality?
Well, let's really get into this. This is where our framework connects right back to you. Your conscious singularity isn't just sitting passively inside a physical body, just along for the ride. When that singularity couples with your brain's biological antenna, it creates what we call the reality engine. And I want to be really clear here. The reality engine isn't a physical object you can hold in your hand. It is the active, continuous process that bridges the gap between quantum probability and your everyday physical experience.
Let's see how this actually builds, because this engine operates through a very specific, highly efficient two-step system to build our physical world. Step 1 is reality generation, and step 2 is reality selection. It is a continuous, moment-by-moment mechanism happening right now as you listen to this.
So the crucial starting point is step 1, reality generation. Before you consciously lock in your focus on anything, reality begins as an uncollapsed state of pure potential. This is rooted in quantum superposition, which is a fundamental state modeled by the famous Schrödinger equation. In this state, multiple possibilities, positions, and outcomes literally coexist simultaneously. It's not that the particle is hiding in one place, and we just don't know where it is yet. No, it is literally existing as a mathematical wave of all potential places at once.
Let's bypass the dense math for a moment and translate this into normal, everyday human terms. Imagine you're taking a walk outside. You look over at a single flower. Instantly, in a fraction of a millisecond, your core system takes that raw sensory signal and generates a vibrant, multidimensional cloud of potential variations. In one branch of this probability cloud, the flower is slightly taller. In another, a quick breeze moves its stem just a bit. And yet another branch, a bee lands right on its petal. Before you even register what you're looking at, your reality engine projects an infinite sea of every conceivable variation. Reality isn't a static backdrop that was painted before you got there. It begins as an incredibly active, uncollapsed explosion of possibilities.
But that naturally leads to a pretty major question, right? If our minds are constantly generating billions of subtle variations for every single moment of our existence, Why aren't we completely overwhelmed by chaotic sensory noise? How do we possibly navigate that incredibly dense sea of options without just losing our minds?
And that brings us perfectly to step 2, reality selection. This is where we see the transition from infinite potential to actual lived experience. On one side, we have the wave function, that fluid, uncollapsed cloud of probabilistic options we just talked about. On the other side, we have collapsed reality. This is the single, solid, linear timeline that actually gets recorded as your physical experience and, ultimately, your physical memory.
To really visualize how your conscious attention manages this massive job, think of your awareness as a flashlight in an infinite, pitch-black forest of possibilities. Wherever you point that beam of focused intent, that specific path solidifies into your experienced reality. The flashlight of your consciousness illuminates just one path out of the billions available in the dark.
The biggest takeaway here is the highly active nature of this entire process. You're not just passively stumbling down a pre-built hallway of space and time. You just aren't. Your focused intent actively solidifies a single path. And as you point your flashlight to select your timeline, all those other uncollapsed, translucent options we talked about, they don't pile up. They simply fade right back into the dark. Your brain works as this incredible master librarian, ensuring the realities you select string together to form a coherent, continuous narrative for you.
Now, it is completely fair if you are sitting there right now thinking, okay, this sounds like a fascinating philosophy, but maybe a bit like science fiction. I hear you. But I want to assure you, with absolute certainty, we are moving well beyond abstract thought experiments here. This explainer is grounded in hard, observable science, and the laboratory data backing these concepts up has been stacking higher and higher for over a century.
Let's look at the timeline of how this evidence evolved. It started way back in the 1920s with the Copenhagen interpretation, which first proposed that observation literally collapses quantum states. Then, decades later, as our physical technology finally caught up with our mathematics, we began rigorously testing this. In 2007, we saw the execution of Wheeler's delayed choice experiment, and in 2019, a massive, groundbreaking test of the Wigner's friend scenario. We really need to look closer at these last two because they change absolutely everything we thought we knew.
So, in 2007, a team of French physicists successfully executed John Wheeler's famous delayed choice experiment using a highly sophisticated quantum interferometer. The results were absolutely astounding. They mathematically proved that choices made by an observer in the present moment directly dictate the physical path a photon took in the past. Yes, you heard that correctly. The photon effectively decided its historical path only when the apparatus was configured to measure it in the present. This completely shatters the concept of a fixed, independent past. Reality remains totally fluid until consciousness engages with it.
Then, in 2019, things got even more profound. Experimental physicists at Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh physically built a real-world version of the Wigner's friend scenario using automated quantum setups. The data from this experiment led to a revolutionary, undeniable conclusion that microscopic facts can be observer-dependent. They proved in a rigorous lab setting that two totally different realities can be simultaneously true for two isolated observers. A physical state can be collapsed into a solid outcome for you while remaining a fluid, fuzzy cloud of probability for someone else, right up until your two systems interact.
So let's zoom out and summarize this massive paradigm shift. The physics community is moving entirely away from the old, rigid Newtonian view. Observation actively establishes facts. The universe is not a rigid, clockwork machine ticking away in the background whether you are there or not. It is a highly interactive, participatory game board. Your reality is generated step by step by you as the observer. This isn't mysticism. This is the direct physics anchor for individual reality selection.
I want you to take a breath and just apply this rigorous science to a typical Tuesday afternoon. Really think about what this means for your daily life. Your core singularity acts as the observer. Your brain acts as the tuning antenna. Together, they execute this amazing two-step process, generating a cloud of potential outcomes and selecting a single path with the flashlight of your conscious attention. You aren't just a biological accident reacting to random circumstances. You are actively participating in carving your timeline out of the multiverse. When you really internalize that, it should feel deeply, incredibly empowering. But this profound scientific truth brings us face to face with a very real, very human paradox. If we are the ones generating and selecting our realities, why do so many of us feel stuck? If we hold this immense creative power at our fundamental core,
Why do we still feel trapped in relentless cycles of anxiety, fear, or endless mundane routine? If our conscious flashlight shapes the game board of existence, who or what is actually steering where we point the light? Let that sink in for a moment. It's a question that challenges absolutely everything about how we operate daily. We will uncover exactly what forces are grabbing hold of your flashlight in our next explainer. Until then, keep questioning your reality, and thank you so much for learning with me today.